Hi, my name is Benita Bamgbade, and I am an assistant professor at Northeastern University in the School of Pharmacy. I graduated from the University of Texas at Austin College of Pharmacy with a PharmD, and then I went and worked for a little bit and came back and got my PhD from the College of Pharmacy as well. A typical day as an assistant professor varies, and that's one of the beautiful things about working in academe is that you one get to build your schedule, and two have a variety of different responsibilities that makes each day interesting. So in academe, our three buckets of work are research, depending on the position that you have, but for me, it's research, teaching, and service. And so, given any particular week, I could be doing a lot of different things with that. And with research projects, it depends where that research project is, what type of research you're doing. And so, I would say currently with COVID, I'm able to work from home. Thank goodness. A lot of my research uses data that's already been collected. And so my typical day really consists of meeting with different people, meeting with collaborators on research projects, meeting with students who are also doing research with me on my research program, and then working with colleagues on different initiatives within the university. So, for example, for myself, I am a part of the diversity committee for our college. And so, as part of the diversity committee, we're working right now on planning programming to address different issues around diversity. We have a program that's coming up in a couple of weeks, so we've been putting a lot of our time getting questions together for the panel, recruiting panelists, and doing those kinds of things. So really, it's a lot of varied. You wear a lot of different hats. So as far as whether or not this had always been my plan to be an academe, I hadn't always planned on going into academe. I think back to when I first started pharmacy school, my intention was to be a practicing pharmacist and to work in respiratory pharmacy. And that changed as I was in pharmacy school. I got engaged in research and started to become more interested in research. And so when I started my PhD program, I initially said to myself, I'm going to keep an open mind, and I'm going to look at all of the options that are available and go forward that way and rule things in and rule things out. But in the back of my mind and in my heart, I knew that I wanted to pursue academia. A lot of the things that I enjoyed as a pharmacy student, as a graduate student, were things that you do in academia. Like, I enjoyed doing research. I enjoyed being really active in student organizations, which translates into service now as a faculty member. And I enjoyed like mentoring and teaching. So I was a mentor in pharmacy school. I was a TA and taught courses. And so all of these things really lined up to being an academic. And I also appreciated the freedom to pursue research tracks and ask research questions that are, driven from yourself. So in other industries, maybe like you have in pharmacy, at least, like you have a product and you need to research this specific product because this is going to market, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas with my research, I can really drive where I want it to go and what I'm interested in, and what's important, or what I feel like is important. So that really drove how I decided to pursue academe. I think I tried to keep an open mind, but I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And I'm happy that, I made that decision and took this route. So career advice for students. My career advice is to always remember that when you go out, just as they're interviewing you, you're interviewing them, right? And so your focus is, yes, to get an offer, but you also want to get an offer in a place where you are able to grow and be better, develop as a researcher, and be successful. And so keep that in mind as you're looking for places to be. Like, how do I fit into the culture there? How will this environment support me and move me forward in my work? And how will they help me promote my success? Because what you don't want to do is get somewhere where you're struggling to pull resources, or you're fighting a different battle. Like being on the tenure track and being a professor, that's enough. So you don't need extra battles, right? So always keep in mind that you're interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you. My advice for students of color, I've had a really positive experience. So the same thing that I said about you're interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you, I think that definitely applies even more to faculty of color. Um, Oftentimes, I was privileged enough at the University of Texas that in my department, I had 3 Black female faculty members. So I never felt like I felt like I had my community, right? Like I had people in my corner. And some of you might not have that experience here at UT. And then likely you'll go to a place where you might be that one faculty member of color, which was my case. But I think when you're going out for interviews, when you're looking for your position, keep in mind that this is the reality that you're going to face, and try to see, like, will you have allies? When I was recruited to the university that I'm at, it was very clear to me that the people in leadership positions were aware of specific issues that face faculty of color. Such as like being overburdened with service, right? Like, oh, you're the only Black person here. Okay, you need to be on this committee, this committee, this committee, because we need representation, right? So, and it's a thing that people are doing, like, as you know, in a positive way. Like they're trying to put representation and have different voices on a committee, but at the same time, like on one person, that's a lot, right? And as a tenure track person, your time shouldn't be spent doing a lot of service. And so when I was recruited, when I was interviewing, they were very much aware of those kinds of issues and were vocal about making sure that that didn't happen to me. And so that was really important to me, to feel like protected, not only just as a junior faculty member, but as a faculty member of color. And then the other piece of advice I'd say would be, don't be afraid to find your community. And that's really big to me in work and in academia, and then even just outside of academia, is really just connecting with people and having your support system. So I said that at the University of Texas, I had like my major professor and other professors that were a support system for me. And then, you know, moving to a new university, I had to find that new system for myself, that new support system. And so don't be afraid to go out and meet new faculty, because people love, when you're new, it's like the perfect greeting card to be like, oh, I don't know anything, hi, help me. And people are very excited to help you because they're like, oh, yay, we're happy you're here. And so, you know, I'm 4 years into this and I still do that. No, I'm just kidding, I don't. But I wish I could. I milked it for as long as I could. But go out, meet people. They don't have to be within your college. They don't have to be within your discipline. And even think outside of your institution. There may be people who can be your support system and your mentors that are in the city. So Boston has a lot of universities, and there are lots of faculty member of color who are mentors to me. So just think creatively and make sure that you're going out. Don't isolate yourself, because when you run into problems, that's when that problem can feel even heavier. When you have a support system, they can give you sage advice, which I have done since I've been here. So even coming into a place where I thought was very supportive, I mean, and is very supportive, there's still issues that come up that I need advice for. And there's one thing to get advice from people who are outside of your institution, but it's also very valuable to get advice from people in your institution who know how things work and know, like, oh yeah, this happened 3 years ago and this is what we did, right? So just make sure not to isolate yourself and find that support within and outside of your institution.